to give their oath of allegiance, not to the flag. That's the civilian side of it. We pledge our allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That is the founding principles of our nation, completely encapsulated in one pledge. I get excited. It may go by into the audience, but it's like some folks want it to. This flag right here represents everything that we stand for as a nation. But we understand that behind that is the Constitution of the United States of America. Over 200 years old. Anybody know the average age of a constitution in the world today? Most constitutions in the world today only last 17 years. That's it. Ours has lasted because it honestly was the best constitution that was ever written by men on the face of this earth. But having a constitution is one thing. Keeping a constitution is another. 17 years, other countries lose that founding document or that legal document that binds them together as a nation, that gives them their marching orders legally as a country. Every 17 years they have a new one that comes along. We've had ours for so long because it's so great and because we love it and we respect it. I must say again that we are not rebels here tonight. We are not the ones that are trying to overthrow anything. We are the ones that love that document, who respect that document, and want that document to continue. We are the ones that are trying to preserve that document. Not far from us there's a group of people, and I don't care what side you're on, both sides are doing it. Both sides are doing it. They are trying to destroy, they are subverting that constitutional law. They act like it doesn't even exist. And we have let them get by with that long enough. The time to stand is now. Now we must stand up and we must stand together. I am calling for every single patriot group out there. If you are peaceful, if your heart is peaceful, and you want to retain this constitutional republic, if you want to regain this constitutional republic, I'm calling for you to meet with us. Keep your leadership. Keep your fundraising. Keep everything that you already have, but let's get together. Forget about trying to convince each other to join each other's sides, and let's join together side by side. We have seen a rapid increase of destruction of our individual liberties. One of the ways they do that is by taking and putting groups together and giving them special liberties. You've seen it, I've seen it, the world has seen it. This group has special liberties. You have just subverted the Constitution of the United States that says everybody has the same liberties. And when you take away, or when you give someone else special liberties, you have immediately stepped on my individual liberties, and I will not take it anymore. They have long gone after the Second Amendment. Everybody knows that. Us people that have defended the Second Amendment for years, we have fought that battle valiantly. Here they come again at the Second Amendment. Do you know why they want to take the Second Amendment? I'll tell you why. The reason tyrants go after the Second Amendment is by taking away your ability to use that constitutional method of controlling the government. The people have only their voice and their vote. Both of those methods right now are also under attack. They are coming after your First Amendment's rights. The Second Amendment gives us that ability to, it's a nuclear option, and you don't want to use it, folks. Can I get you to hear me on that? We do not want to use the Second Amendment route, just like America has a nuclear arsenal, but we don't want to use it. That is the absolute last resort in this battle to reclaim a constitutional republic. We have it there. It's there. Do we have a constitutional right to use it? Obviously we do. It's in the stinking Constitution. Well, not stinking, but it's in the Constitution we have that right. But do we have a moral right to use that constitutional amendment right now? Absolutely not. We have not tried everything we can do to settle this peacefully. That has to be the heart of every American today. We have to have a peaceful heart in order to win back our freedom, or at least give it the best shot we can give it. Congress, the Bible. That was the preacher coming out of me. The Constitution says in the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or the right of people peacefully to assemble and to petition their government for redress of grievances. That is the First Amendment. They are coming after that even now. When I stepped out in Olympia, Washington, and I told the world that we were coming to D.C., D.C. went on high alert. The misinformation people went on high alert. The scathing comments and lies about me personally, because I'm the one bringing the message, started to inundate the internet. Why? Because they don't like the fact that I am exercising my First Amendment right to bring my grievances to my government with you all. How long are we going to sit back and let them trample on our constitutional rights? I tell you, that day is over. That day is over. Enough is enough. I am a free American by that Constitution. That Constitution is not to limit me. That Constitution is to limit them. All that Constitution does is it explains my liberties that come from my God. And it also explains that they over there in Washington, D.C. cannot take those liberties from me. They didn't give them. God did. He's the only one that can take them. And He has not taken them yet. This government that I am talking about, that I am sick and tired of, and I know many of you are as well, they have created federal agencies. They originally sold them agencies to us. They were there to protect us. Those agencies there were there to make our lives better, to make them easier for us. Kind of like when they said that you don't have to worry about paying your federal income taxes. We'll just take them out of your check. It'll make it easier on you. Yeah, thank you very much. Have you looked at that portion of your check lately? Wouldn't it be nice to have that back in your bank account again? That's your government doing that to you, making your life a little bit easier. Does it feel easier to you tonight? When you go to the grocery store and things are 25%, 50%, 100% higher because of their spending habits, because they have devalued our dollar to the point that now your dollar is literally useless in a store today. The money you're still making hasn't gone up, but the money you have to spend has gone drastically through the roof. You know why? It ain't because of Putin. It's because of them guys over there in Washington, D.C. It's time we start putting the shoe on their foot where it belongs. They have spent us into oblivion. We are $30 trillion in debt right now because we don't have a taxation problem. They're raising plenty of money. They're just spending it like nonsense out there. I remember back years ago they were doing a study where they put shrimp on a treadmill. What in the world's that got to do with my freedom? How's that make my life better? You bunch of yahoos. It's time. They asked me, what do you want to happen? I'd like for every one of them to resign in disgrace because they are disgraceful. And now them agencies that they said were to protect us, they've now weaponized them against us. Now they're controlling our lives through those very agencies that they said was there to protect us. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. They have made their bed with big business. Those big businesses out there, They can afford to work at a smaller level of profit margin because they've got a larger audience. They've got a bigger business model. But the mom and pop stores are struggling because they've got a smaller profit margin. And so these people, these politicians are being bought by the money that comes from those big businesses. And it's literally fascism. The fascism is, according to Mussolini, was the perfect marriage between big business and big government. Does that not sound like what we're in today? We've got social media platforms that will not let us speak truth, yet they're protected by the government. That's a true fact. You cannot sue them for liable for what someone places on their platform. They've got the protection, but they don't give you the opportunity to practice your First Amendment right. They're married to that. And now we can see that they're actually starting to turn elections based on how they do their algorithms to influence our vote. And here's the problem with that. We're still supporting them. We're still supporting them. AT&T, Verizon, Apple. I've got one right here. We're still supporting it. And yet we get mad when they take our tax dollars and send it to some foreign country that hates our guts. Are we doing any better when we go to a movie that's starring some big star that slanders us, that makes fun of us, that hates our guts? It's about time we start voting with our dollar bills. They have declared an attack on our financial systems, on your individual bank accounts. They have declared an attack on that. Individually and as a nation, we are in financial trouble. Different individuals have different statuses of financial wealth. I understand that, but the vast majority of common folks like me, we are struggling from day to day. That is because our government is trying to control us into the fact we're going to have to rely on them. They did the same thing with Social Security. We've got people that cannot vote the way they want to vote because that person may attack their Social Security. Are you seeing the collar that they put around the American public? And they're trying to do that not just with our aged folks, but with everybody. We have to stand up and come together as a nation. We have to have our pastors and all of our churches begin to stand up. Right. The church has succeeded our mission to the government. Right. It is not the government's job to feed the hungry, to care for the widows, to care for the orphans. That's our job. And we took that mission that Christ gave us and gave it to them. And that's where a lot of our money is going to. And it's going wastefully to that. At a local level, the church knows who is a scam artist and who is not. But at a bloated federal level, they have no idea. And so billions of dollars are sent out every day or every week to people that do not deserve the help that somebody else does deserve but cannot get. That's because the church has left her mission to take care of the people that are around them. It was the pastors of 1776 who formed those first militias. Did you know that? They're the ones that formed those first militias. The British actually called them the Black Robe Regiment because they wore black robes when they filled their pulpits. Stories are told of some pastors that went behind their pulpit on that Sabbath morning and began to talk about the coming revolution against the British Empire. And then they took their robes off and revealed that they were standing there in their military garb, ready to fight for the country's freedom and independence. It's time that we form a new Black Robe Regiment that stands behind their pulpits and declares that we will reclaim the mission of the church, and we want it back from the federal government. We will take care of our people. Thank you very much. That Constitution that I'm talking about literally changed the entire world. Do you understand that our founding fathers, as they put quill to paper, I said it right, quill to paper, they were barely removed from being cavemen. They still cooked their meat over an open flame. It was a new heralded invention by a guy by the name of Benjamin Franklin, that had developed a stove, a wonderful stove that sit outside of the hearth that everybody wanted. He didn't even patent it because it was such a major development in scientific technology. Glad we still don't heat with that today, aren't you? But that was a Tesla of the day, folks, when they put that pen or quill to paper. But that document, look at our history, look at the history of the world from that document to today, how the world has developed, how the world has changed. You know why? Because that document declared that every man was free to choose his own destiny as God decided for him to choose. That's why it has to be protected. That's why it has to be obeyed by our lawmakers. That's why it has to be revered by the people of America, and we have to stand up and defend that Constitution with our very lives if necessary. We have to take responsibility for our failure. We have to. This is our fault. We have been told we just got to choose between the lesser of two evils for so long that neither one of them look different now. Neither one of them are there to represent you. They're there to represent their own selfish interest. Again, I ask, how can you take a job that makes less than $200,000 a year and 2 or 10 years later be a multi-millionaire? You're corrupt. That's how. I gotta hurry. In the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6, talks about the Syrian king who was making war with Israel at the time. And he said, I want to know who the spy is among us. The Syrian king. I want to know who the spy is. Because the Israelites know everything that we're going to do. And some of his men told him, said, there's no spy here, king. It's that prophet Elisha over there in Israel. Everything you say in your chambers, God speaks to him and he tells it to the king. He tells it to the king, and it's thwarting all your plans. So the king says, well then, we got to go get Elisha. We got to take him out. So they said, where's he at? He said, he's in the city of Dothan. So the next morning when Elisha, his servant, wakes up, he steps out and looks, and sure enough, Dothan is completely surrounded by the Syrian army. And the servant comes running back to his master and says, we're surrounded. We're surrounded by the enemy. Sound familiar? We're surrounded by the enemy. You can't do anything, Santa. You don't have enough people, Santa. You're surrounded by the enemy, Santa. But I like what the man of God said. He got down and he prayed. He said, Lord God, open his eyes and let him see. And so his servant steps back out, and he still sees that Dothan is completely surrounded by the Syrian army. But behind them, surrounding the Syrian army, is the whole host of heaven in flaming chariots. You are not alone. Amen. We are not surrounded. We are at the place that no matter where we fight, it is the front. So we fight to the rear. We're fighting our enemy. We fight to the left. We fight to the right. We move forward. All we're doing is encountering the enemy. But behind them is a host of God. I believe this with everything in me. There is a host of God that stands for us. And God has always used the small to magnify his ability to do the great. You have to lose your fear. You have to quit being afraid of them. I don't know how, and I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about January 6th. I am sick and tired of people bringing up January 6th to me. That entire fiasco was to make you afraid of doing what we're getting ready to do right now. They just sent me, remember I told them about these agencies that they weaponized? I just got a letter in the mail. I got a picture of it. I haven't been home, so I haven't got it personally yet, but I got a picture of it where that one agency called the IRS sent me a bill for my 2016 taxes, which were professionally prepared, for $85,000. Woohoo! Yippee! You ain't scaring me. I'm sorry. You don't like this message? Tough. You can take your letter. Shove it up their ass. I didn't say that. You are not going to scare the American people anymore. It's time you get a backbone, America. It's time you stand up for what you know is right and do not let your heart be fearful. December 9th, 1993, most of you will know this story, Mogadishu, Somalia. The warlord there was Mohammed Farid. The American government said, we got to take him out. He was literally destroying those people, starving them to death. The food that was going in to try to help those poor Somalians, he was stealing from them and selling it back to them at a very high rate. So the American government went in with some special forces and some forces, and they decided to take him out. On December 9th, 1993, they went on a special mission to try to capture some of his lieutenants and leaders in his movement. Almost immediately, things began to go wrong. One man was injured, gravely injured, as he fell from a rappelling rope. They were medevacing him out. And then one of the helicopters took a direct hit from a rocket-propelled grenade and crashed into the middle of enemy-held territory. All the forces, they said that it went from being a snatch and grab mission to a rescue mission in an instant, in a heartbeat. All the forces were then directed to the crash site. Helicopters were hovering overhead, telling them where the enemy was coming from and what the best routes for them to take to get to the helicopter that was down. One of those helicopters was piloted by a man named Michael Durant. He was helping rescue, or at least try to help, those people that were in that first helicopter. He was also hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. At first he thought everything was fine, but he was going back to camp just as a precautionary measure. And a few miles from where the first crash site was, the tail rotor of his helicopter completely disintegrated. He and his crew went down, even further away from the help that was going to the first helicopter crash site. Michael Durant said when he hit the ground, his body was broken all over. He said, I thought I would die. He said, I thought the crash was going to kill me, but he realized that he was still alive. There were two special forces snipers that were in another helicopter that saw the position that he was in. He was the only survivor in that crash. And they begged 3 times, give us permission, please, give us permission to go out and try to help him, set up a perimeter, try to keep the enemy away until our other forces can get there to rescue him. After the 3rd attempt, they finally were given permission. With only their sniper rifles, they went down. This is America, folks. This is America. They went down and they defended Michael Durant and his broken body in that destroyed helicopter until both of them men fell mortally wounded trying to protect one of their own. No fear. Duty is everything. Michael Durant realized they both were dead, still strapped into his cockpit. He began to say goodbye to his family because he knew that he was a dead man. He began to say goodbye to his wife and his family and his mind because he knew he would never see them again. Pretty soon the enemy swept into his helicopter. They began to beat him. They began to pull his clothes off of him and said somebody whispered in his ear, American soldier, today you will die in Somalia. American soldier, you will not go home now. They pulled him out. One of Deed's lieutenants that was on the scene realized all of a sudden that this man is still alive and he is worth more alive than dead, so he held his men back from killing him. They put him in the back of a vehicle and through the city streets they went. At that point in time, nobody on our side knew where Michael Durant was. The only people that knew where he was and his welfare were the enemy that had captured him. They put him in a little house in a back room all night long. Somebody would open the door and look in and laugh at him and say, "You're not going home. You're going to die here." Building fear in his heart, building dread in his heart. Early in the morning hours, Michael Durant said he lay there, body broken, hope destroyed, by the voice of his enemy telling him he would not go home. But he said suddenly, from way up above, he heard the sound of an American helicopter that flew above his position. They didn't know exactly where he was, but they had a loudspeaker strapped to the bottom of that helicopter. And he said all of a sudden, he heard a voice, an American voice, a familiar voice, that told him, Michael Durant, called him by name, Michael Durant, do not be afraid. Michael Durant, we will not leave you behind. Michael Durant, we are coming for you. Can I tell you something tonight? You may feel like you are completely surrounded, that there is nothing that you can do, but don't listen to the voice of your enemy. Listen to a voice that cries from above. All those who stand together in the name of our mighty God, He will be on our side, and we will overcome.
So no one's going to follow that. I would like to, since it is Memorial Day weekend, let the DJ play some memorial music for us and give a nice dedication for us. And then we'll end it with some music as we chat, get to know each other, and stick around, come back for the next rally, and thank you all for your support and coming out today.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? My name is Dennis Stigler. I'm a retired U.S. Navy. For all you veterans out there, you know what we've gone through. I would like to pay tribute to our father,
Guys, I'm back in the truck, and of course I'm down to like 8%. The phone's hot. Yes, he was on fire, wasn't he, Jenny? Oh, Santa's hot tonight. Is Angela here yet? Her poem was awesome. Did I miss a poem by Angela Brewster? I'm assuming you were talking about Angela Brewster. Sorry, I had to move to another stream on bag. That's okay, Jenny.
Thank you very much.
Sorry guys, I didn't even hear it. They were playing Tapestry right at the last second when the